Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from Canada, English language, released in the year 2015, directed by Terry Miles, and this film was called Even Lambs Have Teeth. So Even Lambs Have Teeth is about two best friends. Their dream is to go clothes shopping in New York City. In order to do that, they need funds. So they agreed to actually do some work on an organic farm, and this is basically their plan. And so one of the girls' uncles, he drops them off at this area, and some locals, two men, actually tell them that, okay, we know where the farm is, we can actually take you from here. And so the girls agree to this, but surprise, surprise, these locals have different intentions and they take the girls to their family farm. Now, the family farm is not the destination. In fact, the family is psychotic, and they're going to put these girls through a lot of torment, sexual violence, and all kinds of other horrors, and they don't have the intention of letting these girls leave alive. But the girls fortunately make an escape, and instead of actually seeking refuge and reporting this family, they decide to arm themselves to the teeth and come back and exact their own sense of justice. So whether or not they can achieve that is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Even Lambs Have Teeth. To be quite honest, when I come into this film, I was expecting a very mediocre experience, and that's exactly what I got, unfortunately. Now, I was hoping that this would be an undiscovered gem. I was hoping that I was expecting it to be really bad, and it comes up to be quite enjoyable, but I just didn't really buy into it. Now, this is a movie that is, once again, another rape revenge kind of film. If you've seen I Spit in Your Grave, and you've seen the countless other films that have tried to emulate that movie, then this is definitely one that you'd pass up the opportunities. That if you miss it, you're basically not missing anything. It's because you've seen it all before. And unfortunately, this movie doesn't provide anything at all that is redeemable to make this a movie that I'd recommend to anybody. Now, the biggest problem to this film is that I'll go into a little bit later, but I will say that I thought the soundtrack to this movie was great. And as far as a low-budget movie is concerned, it was competently made. There were some very brutal scenes that I thought, okay, well, that would kind of look cool. And if you're a sick kind of person, that will really appeal to you. And I thought that the two women were actually quite good to look at. And so that's something of very I Spit in Your Grave sort of quality, is that there's a very good looking woman. She goes through a horrible situation and she comes back as this killing machine. And this movie is the same sort of thing. It's a very caricature nature of these two women, that they come back as these maniacs, but it's showing you what violence can do to a person, how it can shape even the best of us. And so I thought that was somewhat interesting, but unfortunately that sort of message has been done time and time and time and time again, and unfortunately for Even Lambs Have Teeth, it's been done a lot better. Now, the biggest problem is that the whole film reeks of caricature, and because it reeks of caricature, you don't really get into these characters. And for you to actually root for these characters, it would have made it somewhat tolerable. But unfortunately, these women, they go from these best friends who are innocent to these killing machines, and the difference is it's way too much. It just feels like it's two completely different people. Is that their journey to the dark side was way too quick, and so they don't have any redeemable sort of features. And when they're carrying out these brutal attacks, at least in I Spit in Your Grave, the main character you can actually sympathise for, because actually the torment she goes through. But in this movie, it doesn't show you that torment as much, and it doesn't really show what these women are actually going through. It just feels like a movie where these women, okay, they're best friends, they go through this sexual degradation at the hands of this family, but then when they're going on the killing spree, you never feel as though they're torn up. You never feel as though, okay, these are women who have gone through a traumatic event. You just feel as though all of a sudden the tide has changed and now they're the maniacs. And so I didn't really like that. It felt too cartoonish, and therefore I couldn't get into the film at all. And because I couldn't get into the film at all, I started to get a little bit bored. And when it goes into the revenge quality of the movie, this is where the wheels start to fall off. It's just basically one scene of torture, then the next scene, then the next scene, and it's not really building up to anything. And when you get to the end, I thought to myself, alright, well, I saw a film that had reasonable production, it had some fairly ghastly scenes of violence, and it also had its moments, some fairly decent set pieces, but overall the movie was just nothing. It just felt like a film that I've seen a million times before, so I just discard this on the big pile of rape revenge sort of movies. Unfortunately, if you are a fan of this sort of genre, then I would say don't even bother with it, is because, as I said, it's stuff that has been repeated over and over. It just didn't feel as though this movie had any real quality. It didn't really have any patience. It just wanted to churn out something that was done before, and unfortunately that is the movie's biggest downfall. So overall, production-wise, it was decent, but unfortunately that is it, and as a result of that, I'm only going to give Even Lambs Have Teeth 1 star. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.